In the glittering world of Hollywood, where fame hides more secrets than scandals, some of the brightest stars carried a truth too dangerous to reveal. Behind the red carpets, million-dollar smiles and perfect love stories were men forced to live double lives, loving in silence and acting even off-screen. These weren't just actors, they were prisoners of fame. But when the curtain finally fell, their confessions shocked the world. Are you ready to discover the 15 secret gay actors Hollywood tried to keep hidden? Wentworth Miller, the prison break star who escaped his own prison. He was the face of brilliance and control. Michael Scofield, the man who broke out of prison with nothing but a plan and a tattoo. But what audiences didn't know was that Wentworth Miller was living inside a prison of his own making, one built not of concrete, but of fear. With his razor-sharp looks and calm authority, he became Hollywood's poster boy for masculinity. Yet behind the interviews and photo shoots, he was silently breaking apart. For years, Wentworth dodged every question about his personal life, deflecting with a polite smile. Rumors about his sexuality circulated endlessly, but he denied them all, not because he wanted to lie, but because he had to survive. Hollywood, even in the 2000s, was a place where one confession could end a career overnight. To the world, he was strong, perfect, untouchable. To himself, he was exhausted from pretending. Then came 2013, the moment that shattered the illusion. When invited to a film festival in Russia, a country infamous for its anti-LGBTQ laws, he didn't just decline. He sent a letter, bold, emotional, and honest. In it, he declared, "I am gay," refusing to appear in a place where people like him were persecuted. The letter went viral. Overnight, the quiet, reserved actor became a symbol of defiance. But Miller didn't stop there. In 2020, he announced he would no longer play heterosexual roles, saying he no longer wanted to pretend for anyone. His words divided Hollywood, but they liberated him. The man who once played a genius escaping walls of steel had finally escaped the invisible ones around his heart. Luke Evans, the leading man who refused to hide. With his commanding voice, chiseled jawline, and undeniable charisma, Luke Evans became Hollywood's vision of the perfect man. From The Hobbit to Beauty and the Beast and Fast and Furious, he embodied every kind of hero, bold, strong, and irresistibly confident. On screen, he was the man women wanted and men wanted to be. But off-screen, Luke Evans carried a truth that Hollywood warned him to bury. Born in Wales, Luke started his career in musical theater, performing in London's West End long before Hollywood knew his name. There, he lived openly and proudly as a gay man. No secrets, no apologies. But when his fame began to rise, agents and producers whispered the same old warning, "Don't talk about it. If people know, it could end everything." It was the same fear that had silenced generations of actors before him. For a while, Luke chose silence. Not out of shame, but out of exhaustion. He didn't fake relationships or feed tabloids with lies. He simply stopped explaining himself. "I'm an actor," he once said, "not a politician. My private life is my own." That quiet strength became his weapon. He didn't need to make grand statements. His confidence spoke louder than any denial. Years later, Luke shattered the illusion of fear when he began appearing at events with his partners, living freely and unapologetically. Fans loved him more, not less. The world had changed, and Luke helped it change. He had become the rare Hollywood star who could be both masculine and openly gay without apology. Today, Luke Evans stands as living proof that authenticity doesn't ruin careers. It redefines them. Jonathan Bailey, the Bridgerton heartthrob who changed the game. Jonathan Bailey became the talk of the world when he stepped into the role of Anthony Bridgerton, the proud, passionate, and dangerously charming Viscount of Netflix's Bridgerton. With his piercing stare and commanding presence, he embodied everything Hollywood calls leading man material. Yet while audiences were falling in love with his on-screen romance, Jonathan was quietly fighting a battle that no costume drama could ever portray: the struggle to live authentically in an industry still haunted by prejudice. Before the fame, Jonathan was a theater-trained actor, mastering Shakespeare long before he became a household name. But in his early career, the warnings came fast and cold. Agents told him that if he came out as gay, he could kiss leading roles goodbye. "The public won't believe a gay man can play straight," they said. For years, those words echoed in his mind, a cruel reminder that honesty could cost him everything. But Jonathan refused to let fear dictate his story. Instead of hiding behind a false image, he chose silence on his own terms. Not to deceive, but to protect himself until the time was right. That time came with Bridgerton. When the series exploded in popularity, Jonathan took control of his narrative and proudly came out publicly. And the result? Fans didn't turn away, they embraced him even more. In a single moment, he shattered one of Hollywood's oldest myths, that love on screen loses power when the actor lives it differently off-screen. Jonathan Bailey proved the opposite, that authenticity adds depth, not distraction. Today, he stands as one of the few leading men redefining masculinity and romance for a new generation. Elliot Page, the star who rewrote his own story. Elliot Page was once Hollywood's darling, the witty, sharp, and unforgettable star of Juno, Inception, and X-Men: Days of Future Past. To the world, he seemed unstoppable, young, talented, and adored. But behind the success was a painful truth. Elliot was living a life that didn't belong to him. Every red carpet, every magazine cover, every beautiful actress headline was a reminder of the role he never chose to play. For years, Elliot endured the pressure of Hollywood's expectations, forced to present a version of himself that felt like a costume. The disconnect between how the world saw him and who he really was grew unbearable. Then, in 2014, standing before a crowd at the Human Rights Campaign conference, he finally spoke, coming out as gay in one of the most emotional and heartfelt speeches of the decade. His voice trembled, but his message was clear. He was done hiding. That moment made headlines around the globe. But it was only the beginning. 6 years later, in December 2020, Elliot made another life-changing announcement. He was a transgender man. The reaction was overwhelming, a mix of shock, admiration, and profound respect. For the first time, Elliot wasn't just performing a role, he was living his truth. Transitioning in the public eye wasn't easy. The scrutiny was relentless, but so was his strength. He shared openly about the relief of finally recognizing himself in the mirror, about the joy of simply existing freely. And instead of losing his career, he gained something far more powerful: purpose. Today, as the lead in Netflix's The Umbrella Academy, Elliot has become one of Hollywood's most inspiring voices, using his platform to advocate for acceptance and equality. Coleman Domingo, the powerhouse who redefined strength and pride. Coleman Domingo isn't just an actor, he's a force of nature. With his commanding presence and emotional depth, he has lit up the screen in Euphoria, Fear the Walking Dead, and the Oscar-nominated Rustin. But behind his effortless confidence lies a story of quiet resilience and unwavering authenticity. As a black gay man in Hollywood, Coleman faced a double barrier, one of race and one of identity, yet he turned both into fuel for greatness. Born in Philadelphia, Coleman didn't have the luxury of shortcuts. He built his career from the ground up, one performance at a time, driven by a belief that truth is stronger than fear. Early on, he realized that being openly gay in a world still defined by stereotypes could limit opportunities. But he refused to let that silence him. "I am who I am," he once said, "and that's my power." Unlike many who felt pressured to make public statements, Coleman chose a different kind of revolution, simply living authentically. He married designer Raul Domingo, not with a publicity stunt or headlines, but with love and peace. Together, they've become one of Hollywood's most respected couples, a living example of what it means to succeed without compromise. In his performances, Coleman brings the same honesty that defines his life. Whether portraying a civil rights leader or a complex modern character, he injects truth into every line, every gesture. His mere existence in these roles challenges the system, proving that strength, beauty, and vulnerability can coexist in one man. Coleman Domingo didn't need to come out with drama. His life itself is a statement. In a world obsessed with fitting in, he stands out by simply being real. Dan Amboyer, the Hollywood prince who dared to be real. Dan Amboyer had all the makings of a classic Hollywood leading man, handsome, polished, and endlessly charming. From his breakout role as Prince William in William and Catherine, a royal romance, to his appearances in Younger and The Blacklist, he was the picture of the perfect on-screen gentleman. But behind the tailored suits and confident smile, Dan was quietly living in the shadow of Hollywood's oldest fear, that being openly gay could end a career before it truly began. As his fame grew, so did the pressure. Producers, agents, and PR teams whispered the same warning: stay quiet. Don't ruin the fantasy. For years, Dan lived by that rule, playing the roles the industry expected of him, both on and off screen. But deep down, he knew the price of pretending was far too high. Then, in 2017, he decided enough was enough. In a simple but powerful public announcement, Dan came out as gay, and on the same day, revealed that he had married his longtime partner, Eric P. Berger. The news stunned fans and media alike. But rather than scandal, it was met with applause. His honesty didn't destroy his image, it humanized him. In interviews, Dan spoke openly about how difficult it was to balance authenticity with ambition. "I didn't want to live someone else's version of me," he said. "I wanted to live mine." His decision became a quiet act of rebellion, a declaration that truth matters more than perception. Today, Dan Amboyer may not dominate the tabloids, but his impact runs deeper. He represents a new generation of actors who refuse to choose between success and sincerity. By stepping out of the shadows, he didn't lose Hollywood, he illuminated it. Ricky Martin, the pop icon who finally set himself free. For years, Ricky Martin was the embodiment of passion and perfection, the global superstar whose voice, energy, and charm made the world dance to Livin' La Vida Loca. He was the ultimate sex symbol, the heartthrob who electrified every stage, the man every magazine crowned irresistible. But behind the bright lights and screaming crowds was a man silently suffocating beneath the weight of an image that wasn't his own. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Ricky's fame was unstoppable, and so was the pressure. The music industry had created a character, the seductive Latin lover, and he was expected to play it flawlessly. Every interview, every performance, every smile came with the unspoken rule: don't let them know. Rumors about his sexuality circulated endlessly, but he dodged them with charm, afraid that honesty might cost him everything he'd built. By 2010, the lie became too heavy to carry. In a heartfelt open letter shared on his website, Ricky Martin finally spoke the truth that had been buried for decades. "I am proud to say that I am a fortunate homosexual man." The world stopped. Fans were stunned. But what followed wasn't rejection. It was love. His words weren't just a confession. They were an act of liberation that resonated across cultures and generations. Ricky later shared that the hardest part wasn't coming out to the world. It was coming out to himself. For years, fear and shame kept him silent. But once he embraced his truth, his life transformed. He became a father, a husband, and a global advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, using his fame to fight against the same prejudice that once silenced him. Ricky Martin didn't just break barriers in music, he broke the chains around his heart. Jim Parsons, the quiet genius who redefined success and authenticity. For over a decade, Jim Parsons made the world laugh as Sheldon Cooper, the brilliant yet socially awkward scientist from the Big Bang Theory. With his deadpan humor and impeccable timing, he became one of television's most beloved stars and one of its highest-paid actors. But while millions adored the character who feared change, Jim himself was living through one of the most profound transformations of all, learning to exist without hiding. Unlike many of his predecessors, Jim never lived a double life. He didn't stage fake romances or play the tabloid game. He simply lived quietly, honestly, and without spectacle. In 2012, at the height of his fame, he confirmed publicly that he was gay. A statement so natural and understated, it felt less like an announcement and more like a truth the world already knew. "I've never been anything else," he once said with his trademark calm confidence. Behind the laughter, there was wisdom. Jim understood that authenticity doesn't need drama, it needs dignity. His long-term relationship with art director Todd Spiewak became one of Hollywood's most respected partnerships, not because of fame, but because of its simplicity and sincerity. When the couple married in 2017, fans celebrated not just their love, but what it represented: a quiet revolution in a noisy industry. Jim's courage extended beyond his personal life. In The Normal Heart, he took on a deeply emotional role as a gay activist during the AIDS crisis, a performance that silenced critics and earned him powerful acclaim. He proved that comedy and vulnerability, intellect and emotion could coexist beautifully. Jim Parsons didn't come out to make a statement. He came out to live freely. Zachary Quinto, the Star Trek icon who turned pain into purpose. Zachary Quinto was already a household name. The chilling Siler from Heroes, the brilliant Spock in Star Trek, and one of the most captivating presences in modern Hollywood. With his sharp features, calm intensity, and quiet intellect, he seemed like the definition of control. But beneath that polished exterior, Zachary carried a truth that had weighed on him for years, one he could no longer ignore after tragedy struck. In 2011, the world was shaken by the suicide of Jamie Rodemeyer, a teenager who took his life after being bullied for being gay. For Zachary, it was a breaking point. He realized his silence, though comfortable, was no longer harmless. "I realized that living an openly gay life could be a beacon for others who felt hopeless," he said. And with that, he came out publicly in a heartfelt letter that resonated across generations. There was no scandal, no drama, just raw honesty from a man who had finally decided that his truth could save lives. The response was immediate and powerful. Fans praised him for his courage, and his peers saw him as a leader who used fame not for attention, but for advocacy. His career didn't falter, it evolved. Zachary continued taking roles that reflected his depth, from intense drama to science fiction, proving that authenticity only adds power to an artist's craft. Since then, he has become one of Hollywood's most respected voices for LGBTQ+ rights, speaking out against bullying, inequality, and silence itself. He embodies a generation of actors who no longer separate their art from their truth. Zachary Quinto didn't come out for himself. He did it for every young person still afraid to. Tom Hulce, the hidden genius behind Mozart's smile. When Tom Hulce played Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart in the Oscar-winning masterpiece Amadeus, the world saw brilliance, the laughter, the madness, and the genius of a man consumed by music. His performance was electric, unforgettable, and raw. Yet behind that dazzling smile and chaotic charm, Tom carried a silence far heavier than fame itself. Hollywood saw him as the next great leading man, but he knew that one truth about who he really was could destroy everything he'd worked for. Throughout his meteoric rise, Tom kept his personal life locked away from the public eye. While other stars courted the spotlight, he vanished between projects, avoiding gossip and evading questions about romance. Whispers about his sexuality circulated in tabloids, but Tom neither confirmed nor denied them. It wasn't fear, it was survival. The industry that applauded his art had no room for an openly gay leading man in the 1980s. For decades, he lived in quiet dignity, channeling his emotions into his work instead of headlines. Then, in 2008, long after the frenzy of Amadeus had faded, Tom calmly acknowledged that he was gay. No press tour, no tearful confession, just honesty, understated and powerful. It wasn't a scandal, it was liberation. After stepping back from acting, Tom found new purpose behind the scenes as a Broadway producer, creating art that celebrated authenticity and diversity. He won Tony Awards, not for hiding, but for finally living on his own terms. Tom Hulce's story isn't one of tragedy, but quiet triumph, proof that sometimes the loudest statement comes from those who never shout. Rupert Everett, the rebel who paid the price for truth. Long before Hollywood began celebrating authenticity, Rupert Everett dared to live it and paid the price. With his aristocratic charm, razor-sharp wit, and effortless charisma, Rupert was destined for stardom. He mesmerized audiences in films like Another Country, where he played a gay student in an oppressive society, and later in My Best Friend's Wedding alongside Julia Roberts, where his elegance and humor stole every scene. To the world, he was magnetic, the man who could have rivaled Hugh Grant as Britain's ultimate leading man. But behind that charm was a story of courage that would forever change his career. In the 1980s, when being openly gay could end a career overnight, Rupert did the unthinkable. He came out. Hollywood wasn't ready for it. The calls slowed, then stopped. Producers labeled him too risky, and the romantic leads that once came easily disappeared. If I had stayed in the closet, he later reflected, I could have been a huge star. But Rupert refused to regret his decision. For him, honesty wasn't a choice. It was survival. The price of truth was steep, but it bought him freedom. While others played roles to please studios, Rupert lived authentically. He reinvented himself, acting, writing, directing, and speaking openly about the industry's hypocrisy. Though he never regained the same level of fame, he gained something far more lasting: integrity and respect. Rupert Everett became a symbol of defiance, a reminder that courage often comes before acceptance. He walked through doors that would later open for others, actors like Luke Evans and Matt Bomer, who could live openly because Rupert refused to lie decades earlier. Neil Patrick Harris, the showman who turned truth into triumph. Neil Patrick Harris has been entertaining audiences since childhood. From his breakout as the prodigy doctor in Doogie Howser, M.D., to his legendary role as the womanizing Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother. With his quick wit, charm, and undeniable talent, he became one of the most recognizable faces on television. But behind the laughter and success, Neil carried a secret that Hollywood told him to keep quiet. For years, rumors swirled about his sexuality, yet Neil remained silent, not because of fear, but because he didn't owe anyone an explanation. Then, in 2006, at the height of his career, he decided to take control of his story. In a simple statement to People magazine, he said, "I am happy to dispel any rumors. I am a very content gay man living my life to the fullest. There was no drama, no scandal, just confidence." His timing was shocking to many. Neil proved what Hollywood had long denied, that talent transcends labels. His career not only survived, it flourished. He went on to host the Oscars, the Tonys, and the Emmys, becoming one of the most respected entertainers of his generation. Off-screen, his love story with actor and chef David Burtka captured the world's heart. The two married in 2014 and are now proud parents of twins, embodying the joy and stability that once seemed impossible for gay couples in Hollywood. What makes Neil Patrick Harris extraordinary isn't just his talent, but his fearlessness in living authentically while the world was watching. He didn't hide behind characters, he transformed them. And in doing so, he taught Hollywood a vital lesson: When you stop pretending, you don't lose your magic. You become unstoppable. Sir Ian McKellen, the legend who turned truth into legacy. Before he became Gandalf the Grey or Magneto, Sir Ian McKellen was already a giant, not just of the stage, but of the human spirit. With his commanding presence and Shakespearean brilliance, he could silence a room with a single line. Yet for decades, behind that thunderous talent, Ian carried a secret that weighed heavier than any role he'd ever played. In an industry and an era where being openly gay meant career suicide, he chose silence, until the world gave him no choice but to speak. In 1988, the British government proposed Section 28, a law that would ban the promotion of homosexuality in schools. For Ian, that was the breaking point. During a live radio interview, he did something that would change both his life and history. He came out. "I am gay," he said calmly, "and I will not be silent." Those words rippled across the world. Overnight, he transformed from an actor into an activist, using his fame not for applause, but for justice. Far from ending his career, his honesty gave it new life. Ian became one of the most beloved actors in film history, earning global recognition while never letting go of his mission. He co-founded LGBTQ+ organizations, marched in pride parades, and became a mentor for countless young artists struggling with their identities. His advocacy was fearless, his voice unshakable. Today, Sir Ian McKellen stands not only as one of the greatest actors of all time, but as a living monument to courage. Matt Bomer, the gentleman who came out with grace and power. With his perfect smile, sharp blue eyes, and timeless elegance, Matt Bomer was Hollywood's definition of a leading man. From his breakout role as the smooth-talking con artist Neil Caffrey in White Collar, to his dazzling performances in Magic Mike and The Normal Heart, he became a fan favorite, admired not just for his looks, but for his intelligence and depth. Yet for much of his early career, Matt lived under a shadow, one cast by an industry still unsure how to handle a man who could be both heartthrob and gay. While rumors swirled, Matt quietly built a life that was grounded in love and truth. He was married to publicist Simon Hulce, and together they raised 3 beautiful children born via surrogate. But for years, that part of his life remained private, not because of shame, but because he wanted to protect his family from Hollywood's cruel spotlight. Then, in 2012, while receiving the Steve Chase Humanitarian Award for his work in the fight against HIV/AIDS, Matt took the stage and simply said thank you to his husband and children. That one heartfelt acknowledgement, humble and genuine, changed everything. It wasn't a press release or a headline, it was love, spoken out loud. The audience erupted in applause, and the moment became one of quiet revolution in Hollywood history. Instead of his career fading, it soared. His raw, emotional performance in The Normal Heart earned him a Golden Globe and widespread respect. The man once told to hide had become a symbol of pride and authenticity. Matt Bomer's story isn't about rebellion. It's about grace. He didn't fight for attention, he led by example. In an industry built on illusions, he proved that honesty is the most powerful role of all. Wilson Cruz, the trailblazer who made television history. Long before diversity and representation became Hollywood buzzwords, Wilson Cruz was already living the fight for both. Born in Brooklyn to Puerto Rican parents, Wilson grew up knowing that his identity as both Latino and gay made him a target in a world that didn't always welcome difference. But instead of shrinking into the background, he made a bold decision: to live authentically, no matter the cost. And in doing so, he changed television forever. In 1994, Wilson made history when he was cast as Ricky Vasquez in the groundbreaking teen drama My So-Called Life. His character, a young, openly gay Latino teen navigating friendship, identity, and rejection, was the first of its kind on primetime American television. It wasn't just a role, It was a revolution. Through Ricky, Wilson gave visibility and voice to an entire generation that had never seen themselves on screen before. But that bravery came with pain. When Wilson came out to his parents, his father kicked him out of their home. Homeless but determined, he refused to give up. He poured his heartbreak into his work, using acting as both therapy and activism. Every line he spoke as Ricky Vasquez carried the weight of lived truth, a truth that resonated deeply with millions. Over the years, Wilson continued to break barriers, starring in Party of Five, Star Trek, Discovery, and 13 Reasons Why, while also becoming a tireless advocate for LGBTQ+ youth and racial equality. His voice grew beyond Hollywood. He became a symbol of resilience, authenticity, and hope. Wilson Cruz didn't just play history, he made it. His journey reminds us that representation isn't just about visibility, it's about survival. Coleman Domingo, the powerhouse who redefined strength and pride. Coleman Domingo isn't just an actor, he's a force of nature. With his commanding presence and emotional depth, he has lit up the screen in Euphoria, Fear the Walking Dead, and the Oscar-nominated Rustin. But behind his effortless confidence lies a story of quiet resilience and unwavering authenticity. As a black gay man in Hollywood, Coleman faced a double barrier, one of race and one of identity, yet he turned both into fuel for greatness. Born in Philadelphia, Coleman didn't have the luxury of shortcuts. He built his career from the ground up, one performance at a time, driven by a belief that truth is stronger than fear. Early on, he realized that being openly gay in a world still defined by stereotypes could limit opportunities. But he refused to let that silence him. "I am who I am," he once said, "and that's my power." Unlike many who felt pressured to make public statements, Coleman chose a different kind of revolution, simply living authentically. He married designer Raul Domingo, not with a publicity stunt or headlines, but with love and peace. Together, they've become one of Hollywood's most respected couples, a living example of what it means to succeed without compromise. In his performances, Coleman brings the same honesty that defines his life. Whether portraying a civil rights leader or a complex modern character, he injects truth into every line, every gesture. His mere existence in these roles challenges the system, proving that strength, beauty, and vulnerability can coexist in one man. Coleman Domingo didn't need to come out with drama. His life itself is a statement. In a world obsessed with fitting in, he stands out by simply being real.